interesting and important book, Makers of Modern India. I'm delighted to be meeting its author, Ramachandra Guha. Ram is a historian, a scholar, author of several books and essays on a wide range of subjects. Thank you, Ram, for joining me.
Thank you, Anu.
And thank you for introducing my generation to a host of visionaries and thinkers who shaped our nation, because Ram acquaints us with leaders that we know, but also certain people that I had never even heard of until I read your book. And I think it's very important reading for all of us, compulsory, even because we live in times where we don't have political personages worthy of emulation or even our time and respect. Do you think that I'm being way too cynical in saying that?
Yes, I think what happens, Anu, is that you have a period in a nation's history where the major political leaders are also its major political thinkers. So Gandhi, Ambedkar, Nehru, before them Gokhale, Phule, these people not only worked to reshape society but also wrote very interesting and influential books and essays on important social subjects such as caste, gender, economic reforms, foreign policy. And what happens over a period of time is, as democracy gets established, the thinking happens in the universities and the doing happens in political parties. So of course there's a problem, there's a decline in the quality of our political leaders, but we shouldn't be too pessimistic, because we have available to us the resources of these extraordinary figures. You know, we can still take inspiration from Ambedkar's writings on democracy, or from Gandhi's writings on Hindu-Muslim relations, from Nehru's writings on foreign policy, from Kamala Devi's writings on gender equality. So what my book tries to do is to make available to every citizen these extraordinary rich debates on social change and political reform.
But what you did yourself say is that many of our political leaders today aren't even aware of the legacy that they have inherited, because they haven't read the works of many of these great people.
Well, I now made them accessible. For example, Nehru wrote a letter to the chief ministers of different states every fortnight, and these letters, each of them is a gem. You know, it's got distilled wisdom on issues of the day. Now, I made a selection from them. No one can read 5 volumes of Nehru's letters to chief ministers, but in my 50 pages, Nehru's important ideas on secularism, on democracy, on economic planning, on non-alignment, on the rights of women are available. So I hope that many politicians read this book too, and I was delighted, a little surprised, but more than surprised, delighted to hear from a friend that she was traveling on a flight from Coimbatore to Chennai, and there was a Tamil Nadu minister reading this book. Though the book is not only for ministers, it's for every citizen, as you said. You know, and when you say, Anu, very generously that you enjoyed reading it and were educated by it, I was also educated by it, because for me it was an exploration, a journey, a voyage in discovery and understanding. And I read so much and I learned so much. I mean, there's so many forgotten figures whom I got to know in the course of researching this book. I mean, I didn't know very much about Hamid Dalwai till I started working on this book. I knew Rajagopalachari to be a critic of state control over the economy, but I did not know Rajagopalachari to be a original thinker on democracy and the conduct of elections. So I was discovering these things as I was going along, and I'm sharing them with my readers.
But after your previous book, which is India After Gandhi, what was your provocation in writing this one, and what was the criteria in selecting these leaders?
In a sense, Anu, this is a kind of book between India After Gandhi, which was my last book, which is a history of this country after 1947, and my next project, which is a biography of Mahatma Gandhi, which will deal with the history of India from the 1880s to the 1940s. And this book is a companion to those two. I mean, because it's not a work of biography or history, but it's an anthology of other people's writings. My criteria in selecting them was that I wanted people who were both thinkers and doers, who wrote original stuff and also worked to reshape society. The writings themselves had to be direct, forceful, and resonant with our times. They should have had the capacity to travel across generations. For example, some figures I've excluded. I mentioned this in my talk yesterday. A remarkable figure called Vivekananda, who was a maker of modern India, who was an extremely important spiritual leader and social reformer. But his writings are extremely stiff and formal and archaic. You know, his contemporary reader could understand them. But younger person won't. Whereas Ram Mohan Roy writing in the 1820s or Jyotiba Phule writing on the plight of the farmers in the 1880s is as fresh and alive and relevant today as they were in 1820 or 1880. So the ability to travel across time was an important criteria in selecting these excerpts.
Now, because this is a very subjective selection, I was wondering if for our viewers, if you could just briefly touch upon all the 19 voices and also tell us what in those voices or in their beliefs or philosophies appeal to you.
Well, I start with Ram Mohan Roy, who was the first Indian liberal. You know, when we were colonized by the West, Ram Mohan Roy did not take the easy route of glorifying the past. He said they are failures in our society, that's why we've been colonized. When Christian missionaries criticized the way in which we treat our women, he took that challenge seriously. And he said we must treat our women better. And we must have freedom of the press so that all of us can express ourselves. Then I move on to Syed Ahmad Khan, who was a Muslim reformer in the mold of Ram Mohan Roy. Then I talk about the great early Congress leaders Tilak and Gokhale. And outside the Congress, critics of the Congress such as the low-caste leader Jyotiba Phule and the pioneering feminist thinker Tarabai Shinde. Then I come to the Gandhian period. So I have a large section on Gandhi and Gandhi's critics, who included Ambedkar, Tagore, E.V. Ramaswamy Periyar, Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. Then I move on to the post-47 scenario where I have Nehru and his critics. So against the views of Nehru's, I juxtapose the views of the RSS ideologue M.S. Golwalkar and the socialists Jayaprakash Narayan and Ram Manohar Lohia, the free market Democrat C. Rajagopalachari, and Verrier Elwin, who although born in England, became an Indian citizen and wrote the most insightful works on the predicament of the tribal people. And my last person, whom I call, maybe controversially, the last modernist, was a Muslim reformer called Hamid Dalwai from Bombay, who urged Muslims to get out of an insular backward ghetto and engage with the contemporary world. So those are the 19 figures who feature in this book and whose works are accepted here.
I must say that this is fascinating reading, and at Ram's book launch, he met his match in Gopal Krishna Gandhi, because Ram is one of the most engaging speakers I've ever heard, with a fantastic sense of humor.
That's very kind of you.
Gopal Krishna Gandhi compared him with the actor Raj Kapoor. And you may be puzzled, wonder what the similarity is, but that you'll find out after the break. I'm in conversation with the author of The Makers of Modern India, Ramachandra Guha.